As you know, the Divi 5 page builder has been built from the ground up, and I believe that it is going to give us amazing features as time goes on. At the moment, we have a working version, and I would like to do a complete course on how to use Divi 5 if you haven't used Divi before. And as you know, Divi 5 is a completely different platform as compared to Divi 4. So for those of you that really want to get up and running and start using it, this video is for you because it's going to be a complete course on how to use Divi 5. Let's dive in and let's get started. So I'm going to start here by creating a brand new website. So I use a service called ZipWP. This allows me to build WordPress websites super fast, and I can always do all my settings in here, saving me a lot of time. So anyway, I've gone ahead and logged in, and the first thing I need to do here is to create a new site by coming over here. So I'm just going to click here and then say blank website. And then over here, I'm going to give it a title. I'm just going to call this Divi 5 course. But of course, in your case, if you're using this platform, you can name this whatever you want. So I'm going to call this D5, and I'm just going to make this permanent. And then this is not a multi-site, so I'm going to say create. In fact, let me just add Divi here and then click on create. Fantastic. So as you can see on the top here, installation is in progress, and within less than a minute, I'm going to have a fully working website. And sure enough, I have my website here. There's one-click login, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, I've already gone ahead and downloaded Divi 5. So in your case, you may need to go ahead and download Divi 5 from Elegant Themes. I will leave a link to that in the video description below. All right, so I'm going to do a bit of cleanup here. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff so that my WordPress dashboard looks very clean. All right, so now that I have this, the next step is to install Divi 5. So I'm going to come over now to Appearance and then click on Themes. Next, we're going to come on Add New Theme, Upload Theme, Choose File. So I know my file is in the downloads and it is right here. I'm going to double click to install Divi 5. And by the way, if you're watching this video now, this is in alpha, but very soon we're going to be in beta and then the final version. All right, so Divi 5 now is installing. And while this is happening, I'd like to remind you that this version of Divi 5 is amazing. It is super fast. So if you haven't tried this, this is going to be amazing. Let's go ahead and click on activate. Okay, so this means now that I have Divi 5 activated, but we're not done yet because we need to make sure that we have the latest updates. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and click on login to activate your license. Okay, so here I'm going to log in, and this is my username and password. I'm going to go ahead and log in. I know it's going to ask me for my authentication code. I'm just going to enter it over here. Great. So now that I have this, I'm going to click on login. So this is going to ensure now that I have all the latest bells and whistles. Okay, so now that I have this, we can right away start adding all our pages. So I can come over here and then click on add new page. So ideally, the page you want to add if you're building your website is the home page. So let's go ahead and create this home page. Now, we're not going to enter any content yet. I'm just going to say use Divi Builder, and then I'm just going to go ahead and publish this page. So over here on the top right, I'm going to click on publish, and my home page has been published. Now, I know I'm going to need another page, but before I do that, can you see that we have this new interface right here? The first thing that I like to change before I even do anything while I'm in this interface is to come over here to this builder settings and then scroll all the way down and enable admin bar. Now, why am I doing this? If I need to navigate away from this, it's very difficult because I have to come over here. It's 2 clicks away. I'll click on this drop down and then go to dashboard. But I want to enable the admin bar because this gives me more opportunities to do whatever I need to do in case I need to add a new post or add a new page, or I need to edit the page without actually leaving this interface. So now that I've saved that, I selected that, I'm going to go ahead and now and save. So that's the first sort of setting you want to do. Now, while we're here, there's also a few things that you may want to do. So you can see here, build a view mode. So right now it's on desktop view. You can change this around to whatever you want. You can even have it as wireframe view if you want it, but we're not going to mess with that right now. Let's stick to desktop view. All right. So the next step now is to head over back to my dashboard here. So over here on my dashboard, if we were to start designing our website, there's a few things that we need to make sure are in place. Now, let me just show you quickly what I mean. So at the moment, by default, WordPress sets your website as a blog. So right now what we are seeing is a blog. Okay, so we don't want that. Next, we also have this default text. Now, we don't want this default text. So what we're going to do now is we are going to just copy some lorem text here like that. And we are going to now go to our homepage, and our homepage can be found here, all pages. So on this homepage, we're going to say edit with Divi, and then we're going to go in and add a single column, and then we're going to add some text by clicking on this text module. Now notice what I've just done here. I can actually search for my modules here, and it narrows down until it finds what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and add that. Next, I'm just going to come over here to the right. Now, while I'm here, we might as well talk about the builder interface itself. Now you're going to notice that over here in the middle, this is like your main canvas area. So this is where you would select all your elements that you're working on. Now, if you want to make any changes, this is where now you come to the right. Now, this is totally different to how Divi 4 was working. So over here, the first tab is for your content. Okay, so this is where you'd come in and add all your content. The second tab, which is the design tab, is where you do your styling. So this is where you're going to find all your colors, your font style. So if you want to make it all caps, this is where you'd go. If you want to set your fonts, this is where you would set it right here. And if you wanted to adjust your sizes, this is where you would adjust your sizes. So in case you want to make it big, that's how you do it. So as you can see, this is your styling tab. Okay, so we also have heading text, spacing, borders, border shadow, and so on. So all you need to remember is this tab is for styling. This one here is for adding all your content. And then the final tab is where you go in and do your advanced things. Like, for example, you can go in and add your CSS ID and classes. You can also go to custom CSS, and you can also go to your module elements and add your specific CSS. Now, this is a bit more advanced, but the features are here. We also have conditions. So if you wanted to add your conditions based on this item that we've just selected, which is the text module, this is where you'd come in and add your conditions. Okay. Finally, we also have our presets. So this is where you can set your preset, which you can set based on the design that you would have done over here to your module. All right. So now that we've covered everything over here on the left, on the right, let's take a look at items here on the left. So if you wanted to, let's say, for example, add a layout from the library, this is where you would click this plus button, and you're going to get these three options. You can either build a pre-made layout, you can do a saved layout, or you can build with AI. So that's what this plus button is for. So if I click on pre-made layout, you'll notice now that we have so many of these designs over here. This library is massive. You can drill down by searching over here. You can also choose by category. So perhaps maybe you want to design something to do with art. You can select your art and design over here. And then this is where all your designs are going to show. If you have any saved layouts, this is where you'd come in and you'd see all your layouts. And then if you want to take a look at your existing pages, this is where you'd have a look at your existing pages. Now, the great thing about Divi as well is you also have a Divi Cloud. This is more like a Dropbox, but for Divi, where you can save all your layouts. They all have thumbnails, which is fantastic to see if you want to use these and share with your design team. All right, so now that I've shown you that we have a library and you can go in and add the library over here, the next step I want to talk about is the layers tab. So over here on the layers, this gives you pretty much a teardrop of what is happening here. So you can see here, I've highlighted this is my section, and you can see it's my section here. When I highlight over here, you can also see that this is my row, this is my column, and this is my text. So this will just break down where things are in case sometimes as you're designing, things may be all over the place and you really want to pinpoint what it is you want to work on. You can just open this, and this will give you an idea of where to go in and pinpoint whatever you're designing. Next, we have this wireframe view. So for those of you who have used Divi 4 before, this is how it pretty much started. We have the wireframe view in case you want to work like this. But to be honest, this is a thing of the past. you're good to continue on without the wireframe view, because at least if you're designing what you're seeing, that's a much better experience. Next, we have action icons on hover. Okay, so if I click on that, you can see here that when I try to go on hover, pretty much it assumes that I know what I'm doing. But when I activate it, now you notice that when I hover over here, it tells me delete row. This one here says change column structure, duplicate row, and so on. So this is telling me what is happening here as I hover over it. Okay. And here it's also a tab for parent action icons across hover. So again, you can see here that it will select the item that is in view. I guess there isn't much of a difference, but it is, it is okay that when you hover over it, that's where it gives you options. Next, this is my favorite one. Now, sometimes as you're building, you may not be sure where things end as you're designing. So if you activate the X-ray, it pretty much gives you all the lines of where you are as you're designing your elements on the page. And then finally over here we have your help, and this will give you all the information you need. On the top we have your different views. So if you want to view your design in tablet view, this is where you'd come in, and you can see now that you're in tablet view, which is brilliant. And then over here you are in mobile view. And the great thing about this as well is when you come over here, you can actually go in and activate these different views. So let's say I also want to see the iPhone wide, and I want to design for that as well. Perhaps maybe I have a specific need for that. I can go in, activate it, and then I can go ahead and save. Now you're going to notice that when I click on update, I now have it over here, and it shows me what that's going to look like on an iPhone. Great. Over here to the right, you notice now we have the dock mode. So if you want to work in dock mode, this is where you'd go in and activate that. But I'm not a fan of dock mode, so I prefer to work in this mode. Next, we also have our history, and we can also export our complete design. In fact, this is fantastic because I'm going to show you how I've created a document for you, which is a style guide, and I'm going to import it using this option. Next, if you want to clear this layout, you can just click here on this delete, and then it goes. And then here you can add this layout to the library. So if I were to click here, you give the layout a name. And if you had Divi Cloud, this is where you would save this layout to Divi Cloud. But you can save it to your local library. Great. And then finally, if you want to exit, this is where you would exit, and then you can save, and you can also preview over here. Okay, so as we're looking at this, you can see that this text here is quite small and it's generic, but sometimes we want a specific font for us to begin our designing. So to do that, you would come over here now to, let's head over to dashboard. What you need to do is to head over to appearance and then click on customize. Now it's important that you go in here and do all your changes, and you also get a preview here with this hello world. Okay, so what you want to do is to head over to general settings, and then you want to go to typography. So this is where you would add your font. So you need to know what font you need to use ahead of time. So this is where you'd go in. All these are Google fonts. So you'd choose your font over here for your heading, and then you can specify the weight. Usually, semi-bold or bold is good. Okay. Next, you also want to define your body font, your body text color, and your link color. But I have a treat for you because I'm going to be sharing my style guide with you guys. So all you need to do is to go ahead and download it. I will leave a link to that in the video description below. So here it is. It's called Pop-ins and Enter Style Guide. So when you download it, you're going to get a zipped file that looks like this. So if you double click on it like that, you get this folder, and in this folder we have 2 files. Okay, so with these 2 files, this is the one that you need. So I'm just going to take this over to the next screen. So what you want to do to install it is to click on these 2 arrows. Okay, you click on that, and then now you can see it's asking us to import. So what I want to do now is to just make sure I'm on the right tab and just click on the import tab, because that's what we want to do. So the file that I need is this one right here. Okay, it's the Pop-ins and Enter Style Guide. So I'm going to drag and drop it here. But of course, you can click on Choose File and pretty much locate it on your computer. Next, I'm going to click on Import Customizer Settings. So you're going to notice now that it's going to save me a lot of time when it comes to all my settings that I need for my customizer. There we go. It's just going to refresh in a moment, and boom, now we have beautiful text here. and everything is set correctly. Okay, that's fantastic. But not only does it do that, because what this does is it also sets all your fonts once and for all. You don't need to go in and set your font sizes, because this is something that can be very time consuming, especially for new designers. So you want to make sure that all your fonts are all set once and for all. And this is what this style guide does. It has all your font sizes set, and it is fluid, and you don't need to go in and touch the font sizes. This is going to save you a lot of time. So it's important that you use this. And in a moment, I'm going to demonstrate how that works. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to go to a page that we already have. So we're going to come over here to dashboard, and we're going to go to pages. So I just want to show you quickly here on this page. We're going to edit with Divi. I want to show you quickly that everything has changed. You can see my text here has changed. So over here in this tab, if I go in and I set my text or some of my text to headings, you'll notice that this does not need any adjusting whatsoever. The moment you download it, it's pretty much good to go. All right, so now that I have these three items, I'm going to set this to heading 1. So I'm going to come over here. That's heading 1. I'm going to come on to the next one here, set this to heading 2, and then I'm going to come over here to the third one, set this to heading 3. I'm sure you can see what I mean here, that everything is all pretty much set and you don't need to go in and touch the fonts. Now I want to show you something really amazing here. I'm going to hit save, and then we're going to do a quick preview. So now you see that our text here is ready. If I now drag this, I want you to notice the size of the font. It's going smaller and smaller, and there's no need for me to go in and adjust the sizes. Okay, this style guide pretty much fixes everything for me. Now it's also good practice that since you know that everything is working here, you just need a guide that shows you how things look. So let's create one more page. So I'm going to come over here and click on add new page, and I'm going to call this page style guide, STY. Okay, style guide, and then I'm going to say use Divi Builder. Now remember, I mentioned that when you download that file, it has 2 files in it. This one here is the one that we've just installed, and now it's time to do the style guide page. Okay, so to do that, I'm going to come over here and click on these 2 arrows, and then I'm going to click on import, and then I'm going to drag my style guide page.json file over here. And then I'm going to now go ahead and click on import Divi Builder layout. Okay, let's go ahead and do that. And do you see how quick that was? This is now showing us our colors, and everything is all set for us. Now, the good thing about this is if you do need to go in and change your colors, it is very, very easy to change. These are global colors. Okay, these are global colors, so they are going to follow you pretty much across the whole website as you're designing. So this is my headings, this is my text, this is my primary color, and this is my secondary color. All right, so now that we have this, I can just go ahead and save, and I can also do an exit. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and close this because I don't need this anymore. It's just for reference purposes. Okay, so let's say we are done here setting up everything on this side. There's one more thing that we need to do. We need to set our home page as our main page. So at the moment, if I click here, you notice that I'm on my home page, but if I go to my logo, I go to this hello world. So it's set as a blog. So we don't want that. So again, we're going to come over here, and we just need to get out of here by clicking on this X item. And then we're going to come all the way down here to settings and reading. Next, we're going to come over here to static page, select, and then set this to home. All right. So now that I've set this to home, we can now start designing. I know it took us a bit of time for us to get here, but anyways, we are here now. So when it comes to designing, there are several ways that we can start designing our pages and our websites in Divi 5. So let's go ahead and enable the builder here. Right, so with this enabled, I can decide what content needs to go where, but I want to start off by showing you how easy it is to add some building blocks to our design as we continue. So if I click here, I can start off with a full width header. Now, full width headers are very important because this pretty much covers your main hero area of your website. Okay, so let's go ahead and add it. So do you notice that this blue has just come in? This is because this is our main primary color. Okay, so I'm just going to drag this to the top. Now there's also other ways to do this. If you come over here to the layers and you want to drag it that way, you can just do it like that, and you can see that it's easy to drag and drop. Now I really like using this because it is very versatile. I can do quite a lot with it. So I can just click here to close that. But first of all, for this to work, I just need to make a few settings first. So with this selected, I'm going to come over here to design, layout. So I can either center all this. Again, that could be a layout that I want to go with, and I can also make it full screen. Now, I really love the full screen mode because here I can add an image in the background and I can do more styling to this. But anyway, back over here, we're going to need some sort of an image for this design to work. Okay, so I'm just making sure that I'm with my full width header. I can scroll all the way down here to background, and instead of having this color here, I can change this to an image. But I want you to notice something here. If I go to my global colors, these are the colors that are on my color palette. Okay, these are the colors on my color palette. So it's very, very important that all our colors are added onto our style guide. Now over here, you can add more colors as well. So let's say you wanted to add other colors. So let's start off with black. Oops. So let's say another color you're going to need to this is perhaps maybe a very light gray. You can go in and click on this check mark and you can see now it has been added. So this is going to work as my global color. Okay, I think I did something here to change things, but let's just reset that and let's do it again. Okay, so full width header, there we go. All right, so here I need to add an image. I'm going to come over here to my background and then click on this third tab. So I can click on this plus button to add my image. Now I don't have anything in my media library. So I'm going to go ahead and select, and I have a few images I'm going to use here. So I'm just going to select them like that and then click open. All right. So with these two images now, I just have to decide which one is going to be my main image. So let's say we want something like that. I can click on upload image. Now I want to show you the features that this has, because on the outset, it looks like it's a very blank or plain design, but it is actually very exciting. So with that selected, I know right now that I'm going to need this to have an overlay of some sort. So let's head over to design, and here you can see we have overlay. So the option I can go with is to choose, a color that is similar to this, or if you want, you can just pretty much go black and then click on it one more time and then just drag this down to reveal what's in the background. Look at that. Okay. The reason why we're doing this is because we need a very good contrast over here. Next, you also want to make sure that you sort out your sizing, because right now you can see that this description text is covering pretty much the whole screen. Now you don't want that in design. It's not very good. So we're going to come over here to sizing, which is right here. So for our content width, which is what has all our content here, for the desktop, I want to make sure that I bring it down to about, let's say, even 44%. Okay. Next, I want my design to pretty much fill the whole page. So I'm going to make sure that it's set to full screen. Look at that. So do you see now that this is now starting to take shape? Now, if you want, you can increase this a little bit more, but it is pretty much good the way it is. Next, this is where you want to go into your different mobile views. So we're going to start with the tablet, and straight away I can see that this does not look great. So we need to go in and change this. So again, I'm going to scroll down to my sizing here and then just make it longer. Perhaps I can even go with maybe 80% like that. And then on the iPhone wide, I think it looks fine here. But finally on this phone, this is where I really need to make things change. I can go a full 100% here. Okay. Do you see that? So this is how you set all your sizes over here on the top for your mobile screens. All right, so with that, I'm going to go ahead now and save. I'm really happy with my contrast here. Okay, so I'm just going to delete this because I don't need that right now. Next, we're going to click here on this plus button and click on regular. Now, you notice that these are all our columns, and we can choose these as we are designing. So the next thing that I want to talk about is how you use your presets, because presets are going to be your best friend as you're designing your websites. It's going to enable you to design these layouts super fast. But of course, it's going to take us a bit of time for us to go in and work on our designs. So let me start off with this 2-column layout, and I'm going to add a blurb. Now, this is a very common item that we use in design. So let's go ahead and build this until we are happy with what it looks like. All right, so with this selected, there's too much text here. So let's just lower it down a little bit by just copying that. And then I'm going to add it over here like that. And the next thing I'm going to do is perhaps I'm going to need a bit of a title here. So I'm going to copy that. And then I'm going to replace where it says your title goes here. In fact, that's a bit too much. Okay, so that's going to be my title. I like the way it looks so far. The next thing I'm going to do now is to decide whether I'm going to have an image or I'm going to have an icon. So let's start our design here with an image. So we're going to go in and perhaps we're going to choose that one, upload image, and right away you can see that this now is starting to take shape. So there's several ways that you can design this. If you want, you can add a background color. So I'm going to come over here. Now, when you add background colors here, I highly recommend that you use your light colors and not just go dark for no apparent reason. Okay, so we're going to go with F9, F9, F9. Next, we're going to come over here to design. And what I'd like to do here is give this a bit of breathing space. So I'm going to come over here and set this to 2 rem for my padding top and bottom. I'm also going to do the same to left and right like that. So what you want to do now as you're designing this is just to take a look at it and see if this is looking right. I mean, if it's looking okay, then you want to go ahead and continue with your design. Next, I want to add a bit of a border here. So let's go with a single pixel here. But when it comes to the color, again, I want to go very subtle. Okay, I'm going to come in here and just go very, very subtle like that and save. Okay, now do you notice that I'm in this X-ray view? Sometimes I may want to remove that so I can see how my design is coming along. And already I can see that this is looking great and I really like that. Okay, so let's say this is going to be used over and over throughout my whole design. Well, this is the time now to set this as a preset. So I'm going to click on it once and then I'm going to come to the top here and then I'm going to say create new preset from current styles. Go ahead and select that and I'm just going to call this blurb dash design 1. But of course you can find your own naming system. It's pretty much up to you how you decide to name this. So I'm going to call this blurb design 1 and click on save preset. So it could be that you may have another design that you may want to do, which is completely different to this one. Perhaps maybe this one is for a dark mode. This is where you would come over here and name it a different name and you can just update it here. So over here now, to make things easier for me, and this is also another design tip, you can just duplicate this, drag and drop it over here like that. And then now with those two, which are very similar, you can now go to your image and then just change it. So that's another quick tip for you to design things fast. All right, so now that we have our 2 images here, I can see that this one here looks a bit shorter. So this is where you want to come into your row settings, go into design, and then you want to go to sizing and then activate use custom gutter width. Usually I set it to 2 because the spacing is much better, and then I can equalize column heights there just to make sure that everything is the same height. Okay, so now that I have this, of course, in your case, you want to make sure that your images that you're using are the same size, because otherwise you're going to have this very annoying gap that you have here on the bottom. But I'm not going to waste too much time and look for an image that's the same size, because that's something that you can do on your own. All right, so now that we have this is looking pretty cool. I'm going to come over here and do a quick preview. Okay, so look at that. So this is our main landing page. So as I scroll down, you can see that we have our images. Now, let's say you want to make these images clickable, or at least these blurbs clickable. What you need to do is to take a look at, in fact, let me click on this first. You want to come over here to link, and this is where you would add your module link like that. Okay, like that, and then click on save. And now when I come over here to my preview and I do a quick refresh, you'll notice that when I hover over it, now it's showing that it's clickable, unlike this one here that is not clickable. So this is how you start designing your elements. Okay, so now that I have this main page designed, we can continue on and design another section if you wanted to. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to click here on edit page. Oops, edit with the builder. All right, so to add a new section, you just click on this plus button. We're going to go with regular, and let's go with the 2-column like we did. But to distinguish my sections, what I'm going to do is to use a very light background. So I'm going to come over here, go to background, and then you'd click over here. Okay. So let's give this a light color like that. Right. So over here now is where I can start adding my text or my images. So on the side, let's add an image module like that. So I'm going to click in here, and then I'm going to choose my image. There we go. We have our image, and then over here, we want to add our text. So I'm going to search for my text module, and you can see this makes things work much faster because I can just type in TE, and then it shows me everything that starts with T, or that at least contains T, and then I can choose it like that. And then over here, I can go to my lorem text, copy a paragraph, and notice that as I'm designing this, I don't need to go in and set any text sizes, and this is fantastic. It's saved me a lot of time. All right, so with this now, I am going to just make this main text here on the top, heading 3. Look at that. So I have my heading 3, and if I wanted to add my button here, this is where I would go in and add my button, and this button here is going to be my call to action. Now notice that I've typed in BUT, and then my button here is shown. I want to select that. So it could be that this style of button is not what I need. So this is a perfect time to go ahead and also do another preset. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and select this button, and then we're going to come over here to design button, and then activate our styles for the button. All right, so let's start with the bottom background. So you may be wondering where this color came from. Well, this is coming from our global colors. So this is where we have our secondary color. So I can select that, my secondary color, or if I want to have it in this color here, I can go ahead and have it in this color. So anyway, I have my secondary color selected. Further down here, I can go to my button text, set this to white so I can at least see it, and can continue on. I can choose an icon if I need to, but what I usually do with this design, I go to spacing, and then I set this to, let's say 12, top and bottom, and then I'm going to go with, let's say 28, left and right, because I want this button here to be slightly bigger. Okay, so back over here, I noticed that I had a border. So this button border here doesn't look great. I need to get rid of it by just doing that. Okay, so as you can see now, we have our button, and if I didn't want that arrow, I can go ahead and remove it, or that button icon, and show icon, I can say no. Okay, great. So I don't have the icon anymore. All right, so let's go ahead and save. The next feature I want to talk about is the feature where we get to add our hover effects. Okay, so we're going to make this a bit complex in a way, just to show you the power of Divi. So what I'm going to do is to go into the hover mode. So I'm going to come over here, click on hover. Okay, so now that I have my hover mode activated, I'm going to click here and go in and add my background color. So I'm going to come over here and choose my background color. So I want to go extreme and add something that's very dark. I may not go with the complete black, but at least a very dark gray. I think I'm going to go with that. So for my text to be easier to read, I need to make sure that I flip the colors and make these lighter, or at least close to white. So the first thing I'm going to do is to go to my title. So here is my title text color. I'm going to change that. And we also have the body text. So we're going to come over here, go to body text. We're going to update that as well, and then click on save. So the reason why I've saved is because I just need to do a quick look and see if this is going to work. And sure enough, this is working. But notice that this one here is not working. That is because I haven't updated my preset. So let's go ahead and do that. So over here now, if I click on this drop down, we know that we have this preset here because it has this check mark. So for me to update this, I need to come in here and click on this little icon here like that, and then click on yes. So this means now that all my blurbs that I'm going to create with this design here, or this style, they're going to now have the hover effect. So let's refresh the page and take a look. Great. So now that I have this, when I hover over this, you can see that we have our background. Look at that. So they're both working. If I were to create another one, it'll still take on this design here, which means it's going to save me a lot of time as I'm designing my website. So you can see so far that we have a very clean layout, and it is very, very easy, to design with Divi. The workflow is much, much, much better. Okay, so with this now, we've covered the hover effects. So the nice thing about this is while we have this little icon here activated, we can still work on other items which you may need to add a hover on. Okay, so let's say I wanted to add a hover on this. While this is active, I can go in and pretty much do that. So for example, just for fun, I'm going to go in to my background here, and I'm just going to add a very light background. In fact, let's do something that we can see. Now, if I hit save and then I come over here and refresh, notice what happens. As soon as I go all the way down and then I hover, you can see now that we have a hover effect. It is a very, very easy way of adding this hover on pretty much anything. And again, if this was Divi 4, it was going to be a very long way of trying to get this working. All right, so let's get out of the hover mode and go to desktop. Okay, so now we're back to normal mode. Okay, now let's do something different, because right now we can tell, or we can see at least, that our builder here is very, very easy to use. We can find our way easily, and all our controls are right here before us. But what if you want to do something a bit more advanced? Let's say you want to build your header, because as we can see here, we don't have a header, we don't have a footer, and we want to create our own custom footer. Well, to achieve that, we need now to exit out of our design here and head over to Divi. What we need here is the theme builder. So we're going to come over here. Right. So this is where we're going to add our global headers, our global footers, and so on. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time here. I just want to quickly just show you how to create your headers in case you want to build even more complex ones. But to achieve this, you just click here once, click on build header. And our building blocks are very easy because they look similar to what we have when we design our website on the front end. Okay, so we're going to go with something like this here, because on this very first one here, we are going to add our logo. So what we need in there is an image. And then what we need here is the menu. So let's go ahead and add our menu just like that. Okay, great. So now with our menu selected and our image selected, we need to go in and add our image. So I'm going to go in now, click on this, and then just delete that. Next, we're going to click on this little icon here next to the AI, and we are going to set this to site logo. Okay, it's very important that you do that, because whatever logo that you add is pretty much going to make sure that it replaces this with your site logo. Now, as we are looking at this, we can see that this D is way too big. So what you want to do now is to come over here to design, sizing, and then you want to make sure that you reduce the width. Okay, you see that? We're going to go all the way down until you are pretty much happy with the size. So I think I'm good at 16%, but in your case, it may differ depending on how big your logo is. All right, next we're going to come over here to this gear icon. Now, this is my section. So the first thing I normally do is add a very light background if I'm going to design a light heading. So I'd come over here and choose something like that. So at least this enables me to see what is going on. Next, I'm going to come over here to design. So on this design tab, there's quite a few things that I need to do here. First of all, I'm going to come into spacing and make sure that my padding is set to, let's say, 1%. Okay, because otherwise this heading is too big. Okay, so at least this has been brought down a little bit. Next, I'm going to go to my row settings by clicking here. And in my row settings, I'm going to go to spacing and make sure this is set to 0. Okay, now you can see that my size is really taking shape. Next, what I normally do is I come over here to my module settings, and I know that I want to have transparency here. So I'd go to my background and then click on transparent. So now my header is really taking shape. So with this selected now, I want to increase the size a little bit of my text. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go to menu text. Now, as a one-off, I am going to make a few customizations to this. So first of all, I want to make this semi-bold because I really want it to stand out a little bit. When it comes to the size now, I'm going to set this to 1 rem, okay? And I'm going to go and maybe, let's see how this is going to look. Okay, I've added some little spacing here. So let me play around with caps. No, I don't think that the caps look nice. Okay, so let me just keep this regular, okay? All right, I'll keep this regular and then hit save. Right, now, while I have this selected, if I go to my layout, you can see right now it's left aligned. I can have it centered, I can have it in line with the logo and so on. But I want to keep things very, very simple here and just go to my text alignment and I'm going to align this over to the right. At least that's how I want it to look. Next, I'm going to come over here and increase my padding a little bit because right now my heading does not have enough breathing space. So we're going to go with, in fact, 2% is a bit too much. Let's go with 1.2. Okay, great. All right. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and save, exit from here. And now you notice that we have a global header. We're going to go ahead and hit save changes. So if I come now to my site and I refresh, notice what happens. I now have a header. Now, sometimes the logo here doesn't show up. I may need to enter it manually. That's not really a big problem. But the most important thing here is I have this all set and I'm pretty much ready to go. Everything is working fine now. Over here on the style guide, you can see that our page, is showing and all our colors. Now, this here is important because you can use this page to show your clients and just give them an idea of how their fonts are going to look in their design. Now, let's say at this point, you want to now change the headings. You don't want to use pop-ins and you want to change it to something else. Now, where you need to go is over here to appearance, customize, and then you want to go straight to your general settings, typography. So you change this from pop-ins to something else. Okay, I just thought maybe I'll just remind you quickly because these are the sort of things that change every time you're designing your site. Okay, so now that I have this, the next part now is also your footer. So this is where you'd go in and add your global footer. Again, you would need to design this. So let's go ahead and click on build global footer. So for this one here, usually I'd like to go dark. I mean, in fact, it's up to you if you want to have a lighter background or a dark. So for this tutorial, let's go with a lighter one. But usually I go with a dark background for my footers. Okay, so let's go with something like that. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding all our elements. So I'm going to start off by adding a text module like that. So what I found very easy here, now you just need to bear with me because I don't like doing a lot of typing. So I like just adding all my text here quickly like that. And then I will just show you how this would work. So we're going to pretend that these are our pages. Okay, we need to go back. Okay, so these are going to be links. So the first one here is going to be, let's say, our heading 4. Okay, and then the rest now are going to be our links. So I'm going to come over here. Then I'm going to add a blank link like that. Click on OK. I'm going to do the same here. Click on the link like that. Click on OK. So I'm going to continue doing this because I know that these can be links to other pages. And that's the fastest way you can have your footer going. Now, if you can see that, okay, well, perhaps this is not looking great because the color here does not match the background correctly, you can always come over here to design text and you click here on this little links. Okay, so this is where you can change your colors for your links, for your link text. So for example, I can make it all black, but it's all linkable. But what I may want to do to show that these are links is to click here and then go to hover. Now, I hope that this works because I know this could be still in beta. So that's going to work as our hover. And then we're going to go back to desktop. Okay, so I want to quickly test this and see if it works. Now, sometimes when you save it there and then you refresh the page, it won't show at the bottom here. So what you want to do is to exit out of here and then save the whole thing like that. So when you come back now and refresh, this is where you're going to see your footer now showing. All right, so exactly. Now, just as I thought, this is supposed to be highlighting on each item. So this is something that's probably like a bug that's in Divi 5, but this is something that can be addressed easily. But of course, when you go on to this one here, it will link to individual pages. All right, so let me show you a quick way of just having this developed quickly. So I'm going to go into my row settings here, and then I'm just going to duplicate this 4 times. And already I can see that these are the items I may need. And then over here on the left, I can just change this around and perhaps add some text. So for example, I can get rid of this, add a new text module. Now this time I want to show you how to use dynamic text. So I'm going to click on this little dynamic icon, and then I'm going to choose site title. So I'm going to make this heading 3. So I'm going to add my tag for heading 3 like that. Right. Next, you want to click on apply, and you can see now it's saying Divi 5 course because that's the name of the website itself. Go ahead and save, and this should work anyways. Okay, there we go. So our footer now is taking shape. We can add a login here. We can add all sorts of stuff. We can even add the year and so on. But this is where you would go in and set everything. Now, some of you may probably prefer to have a heading that is sticky, on the top. Now, let me show you how to do that, because right now it is not sticky. So if I come over here and then click on exit, we can go back into our heading here. And for this to work, I'll need to go to advanced. In fact, you know what? I need to click on section settings first, go to advanced, scroll effects. And then here is where you want to make sure that you stick to the top. Okay, that's not what I normally do. I'll go ahead now and save and then exit. All right, so when I refresh this now and when I scroll, notice now it sticks to the top. How cool is that? Okay, so far so good. We have covered quite a lot. Now let's talk about SEO. Let's say you want to add your SEO. How would you apply it to your website? So to do that, you need to add a plugin by coming over here to plugins and then click on add new plugin. Next, you want to search for SEO. Now I like using SEOPress, but in your case, you can use, pretty much whatever it is you want. So I guess there's no space between this. So there we go, SEOPress. I'm going to click on install. I mean, it has quite a lot of features and it just makes setting up your SEO on Divi really cool. All right, so I'm going to say not right now for this welcome thing. So let's go to our pages, click on all pages. So the page I want to look at right away is the home page. So I'm going to click on edit. Right. So what you want to do to add your SEO, you want to make sure that you're not in the actual builder. In fact, let me just show you what that's going to look like. So when you're in the builder here, you don't have a way to go in and add all your information. So what ideally you want to do is to exit out of here, and then now you have access to your SEO stuff. So for example, for my title here, this is where I would add my title. So I'm going to call this Divi full course or something like that, since this is what we're doing. Okay. Now notice that this is now showing in here. Okay. This is your snippet, and this is how it shows up in Google. Okay. Next, you want to make sure that this title here is included in the description in the bottom here. But you know what? I don't have the strength to keep typing. So I'm just going to copy a bunch of text here like that. I know this is not best practices or how it's supposed to be done, but you can see now that I've gone past. So let's remove a bit of this text here. So you want to make sure that each and every page has a description, meta description, and also it has the title. It's very, very important that you do that. Now, further down here, it'll go ahead and analyze everything for you, your headings, your meta tags, and so on, to see if everything, really works. But this is what you want to do for Google to index your pages correctly. Now, let's try and do something here. So let's say I do a Divi 5 course. I know it won't show right away, but what I want to show you here, which is very important, is this is in fact, these 3 are sponsored. Wow, that's all my videos there. I was hoping I'll just get something here. Okay, there we go. So here you can see it says Divi 5, that's the page title, and then you have the description. So that is equivalent to this, which is the title and the description. So that's how you want to do your SEO. And when you do it to your blogs, you want to make sure as well that you optimize your keywords and then you enter them correctly. Now, this example is just to show you where to add your keywords. Okay. So finally, you copy that, because if you want this to be your target keyword, this is where you'd add it as your target keyword. I'm going to refresh analysis and then take a look at this again. Okay, so let's save. So when you take a look at the analysis now, it's telling me what should be improved. So if I click here, you can see that there's quite a lot of work I need to do. I need to do my heading 2, heading 3. None of the target words are found in heading 3, social tags. So it's quite a bit of work really to get this to work correctly. But this is how you implement it on Divi. Just make sure that you're not in the actual builder here, because it will not show. Okay, so let's go ahead and save. Now there's other things that you may also want to add onto your Divi website, things like security, things like perhaps forms and other plugins that may add functionality to your website. Now these are things that you can do based on the website you're working on, but pretty much what I've covered today is the interface, how to find your way around, how to use presets, how to use the hover effect, and so on. So this should give you an idea of how Divi 5 works. Now remember, I've given you the style guide. Go ahead and download it. It's absolutely free. You can go ahead and start using it right away. And the link to that will be in the video description below. I'll be doing a lot more tutorials about Divi 5, so just keep an eye on diviuniversity.com. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead. It's a free community for Divi designers. Until next time, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next one. Take care.